Have you ever looked at something that feels like it's been around forever and just wondered, how could that possibly fail? Well, we're going to dig into that today by looking at the absolutely shocking collapse of a 150-year-old art school. But listen, this isn't just about one school. This is a masterclass in how all complex systems, from businesses to governments, actually fall apart. So to really get what happened here, we can't just skim the surface. We're going to start with a crisis, of course, but then we're going to go deeper. We're going to follow the money. We're going to look at the rule book that completely failed them. We'll uncover the clashing goals that were literally pulling the place apart. And finally, we'll get to the core belief, the mindset that almost guaranteed this collapse was going to happen. And this latter, this is our roadmap. It shows the leverage points in any system you can think of. These are the spots where just a little nudge can create huge, massive change. We're going to climb it together, okay? Starting at the bottom with the obvious stuff and working our way all the way up to the invisible forces that are really running the show. So, our main story today is about the San Francisco Art Institute. You'll hear it called SFAI. For a century and a half, this place was a giant in the art world. You know, one of those institutions that just felt permanent, like it would last forever. But as we're about to see, no system is too big to fail. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Founded in 1871. It survived the Great Earthquake, 2 world wars, huge cultural shifts. I mean, artists like Ansel Adams walked these halls. And then in 2022, after 151 years, the doors just closed for good. How on earth does that happen? All right, let's start our climb. Rung number 1, the numbers. This is the stuff that's easy to see. The data you'd read in a headline. In any crisis, this is the first thing that tells you something is deeply, deeply wrong. And here is the big one. In $19.7 million debt. It was literally crushing the school. By 2021, they'd already defaulted. The only reason they weren't foreclosed on right then and there was because the University of California Regents swooped in and bought the debt. They basically put the school on life support. And here's the other side of that coin. By 2021, the entire student body was down to just 332 people. I mean, you don't have to be a math genius to see there's no way you can support a nearly $20 million debt with tuition from just 332 students. The math just wasn't mathing. Now you'd think, okay, maybe they have an ace up their sleeve. And they did. A magnificent Diego Rivera mural appraised at a cool $50 million. That should be a lifeline, right? A way out? Well, instead of saving the school, this mural became the flashpoint for the entire disaster. And this quote, wow, it just says it all, doesn't it? When you start looking at a priceless piece of cultural history, this massive fresco about the power of the working class, and the first thing you call it is a liquid asset, you know you're in pure survival mode. Art has just been reduced to a number on a spreadsheet. Okay, but terrible numbers are usually just a symptom of something deeper, right? So let's climb up to the next rung on the ladder, the rules of the system. Think of this like the plumbing, the laws, the contracts, the procedures that dictate how everything works and what's even possible. And at the end of the day, SFAI got trapped by this rule book. In 2023, the board finally voted to file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And just so we're clear, this isn't about reorganizing and coming back stronger. This is liquidation. The rules of the legal system basically said, game over. And it's so important to realize that every complex system has a rulebook just like this. The legal code that decided SFAI's fate isn't really that different from, say, the super dense manual the DEA has for handling chemicals. In any system, these rules set the boundaries. And for SFI, they had hit a wall. That deal with the UC Regents, it created a whole new set of rules. Sure, it saved them from being kicked out immediately, but the catch was huge. They became renters in their own building. And they had a ticking clock, a hard deadline to buy the whole thing back. It was a deal that fixed today's problem by creating an almost impossible problem for tomorrow. So the rules of the game were a trap. But why did they even get into that trap? To get that, we have to climb even higher on our ladder, to a way more powerful leverage point, the goals of the people inside the system. Because when the key players want totally different things, they'll just pull the whole system apart at the seam. And here it is, the central conflict at SFAI. The board's goal was simple, survival. And to them, that meant selling the Rivera mural. But the faculty union's goal was to preserve that mural at all costs, arguing that it was the board's own failures and negligence that got them into this mess. These two goals were just completely at odds. You can't do both. They were in a tug of war, and the rope was the institution itself. And it wasn't just about conflicting goals, it was also about information. Who knew what, and when did they know it? The flow of information is so critical. Here's a wild example from a totally different world: AI. Researchers found that when they train an AI, a tiny, almost random bit of info they start with can have a bigger impact on the final result than the entire architecture of the AI itself. It just goes to show you how a small piece of hidden info can change a system's destiny. And when that communication breaks down completely, well, you get flat-out sabotage. I mean, check out this unbelievable allegation from a lawsuit involving a property Sam Altman bought. Apparently, an unpaid contractor got so frustrated he just started jamming bags into a sewer line. Now, that's not a technical problem, is it? That is a total human system failure, born from misaligned goals and a breakdown in communication. It's an extreme example, but it's the same kind of force that was tearing SFAI apart. Which brings us to the very top of the ladder, the most powerful leverage point there is. It's not the numbers, not the rules, not even the goals of the people involved. It's the paradigm. It's the shared, often unspoken worldview that the entire system is built on. If you can change this, you change everything. See, at its very core, the SFII system was running on one powerful, invisible belief: we are permanent. After 150 years, of course we'll last forever. And that paradigm, that deep-seated belief in its own immortality, is actually what made it so fragile. It made them too slow and too rigid to make the crazy, radical changes they needed to make to actually survive. Now contrast SFAI's stuck-in-the-mud paradigm with this quote from Sam Altman. He's talking about a new AI device, and he says he has no interest in competing with a smartphone. He's not trying to make a better version of the old thing. He's tossing out the old paradigm to create a new one. That's the most powerful way to change any system. So let's just run through the whole story again with this new lens. 1871, a paradigm is born. This school is permanent. 2020, the money runs out, and that belief gets stressed to its breaking point. 2021, the debt deal rewrites the rules of the game. 2022, the whole system collapses. But then look, 2023, something new rises from the ashes. A foundation to preserve the legacy. A new system with a new paradigm is born. So here's the big takeaway from all this. SFAI didn't collapse just because of debt. No, it was a total cascade failure, right up that ladder we just climbed. The bad numbers were a symptom of broken rules, which got way worse because of conflicting goals, and the whole thing was held together by a core belief, a paradigm, that just wasn't true anymore. And that really leaves us with one last question to chew on, doesn't it? We just saw how a deep, unexamined belief, this idea of permanence, helped bring down a historic institution. So it makes you wonder, what are the invisible beliefs, the unspoken paradigms that are shaping the systems all around you, in your job, in your community, even in your own life? And what happens when they finally get tested?